Ah, mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2 3 4. Mic check 1 2 3 4. Okay. All right. All righty. Let me go ahead and do a little share the care. Terrorist man. My little calling card. So right there. There. All right, ladies and gentlemen, how's everybody doing this late evening? Certainly hope everybody's doing hunky-dory, as my niece used to say back in the day. Shout out to everybody that's here. Shout out to StreamYard for setting this up. StreamYard got me on a little bitty, I got like a 7-day little pass thing to do, and I'm having a good time on it. So yeah, shout out to them for doing that. Shout out to again Sam Ash. How you doing today? Let's see here, Mega Devo. How are you doing? And the Almighty Spartan God. Thank you, Almighty Spartan God. Appreciate it. Yes, my birthday is tomorrow, so this podcast will literally just be me. Hold on, let me turn this light on here. All righty. Let's see here. All right, now I can actually see what is happening. Yeah, so shout out to you guys for coming in and really going to just do this and kind of break this down. And I'm going to talk about the Spider-Man deal. Let's see here. So I'm going to explain the Sony Disney deal for like the 20th time. And it is now time to go ahead and do that. It's 10 p.m. on the East Coast. So it's 7 p.m. on the West Coast. So hopefully all you West Coast folks will hop in and or hop in later. So to all the people that are listening live now, I appreciate it. All the people who will be listening later, shout out to you. Definitely leave your comments and questions. Leave your questions in the comment section. Like I said, I got a 40 ounce of love sitting here in the refrigerator, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. And so as you all can understand, as I am will be a year older tomorrow. So all right then, guys. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. We're going to break down. I've broken this into 3 parts because that's the easiest thing to do, is to break this into 3 parts. And again, this is the Sony Marvel deal as we stand right now, as we physically sit here and talk. I'm going to tell you what the deal encompasses. And if you ask a question and I catch the question about the deal, I will go ahead and answer it. But I'm not going to be here. I'm not trying to be here super long because I've talked about this for almost 2 years, how this deal is structured. And as everybody knows, and my sources are impeccable, so we'll just go from there. So, but here we go. And this is directly from the deal. Okay, and I want to give a shout out to some other YouTubers that I follow that you guys can maybe start to follow so you all can get some accurate information as well. And these have nothing to do with the people. These are just people that give out fairly accurate information. One is John Campea. All right, John Campea used to work for AMC Movie Talk, which converted to Collider Movie Talk. Okay. Another one is a woman named Perry Nimroff. Okay, Perry Nimroff. She also gives out extremely accurate information. She works at Collider Video. Another person is named, I can't think of their names. The name of the podcast is Popcorn Movie Talk. Again, they give out extremely accurate information about movies. Okay, about TV shows, about the showrunners, about what the showrunner used to do 10 years ago. So again, and that's the kind of information you want to arm yourself with. So here we go. We're going to explain the deal. This is the deal as we stand right now. This is the deal that Kevin Feige of Marvel and Disney, yes, Mr. Kevin Feige, and Amy Pascal of Sony Pictures at the time negotiated. Okay, so let's talk about what Marvel gets out of the deal. One, Marvel gets production fees from Sony. All right. Now, why is Marvel getting production fees from Sony? Okay, Sony is actually paying Kevin Feige to produce the movies. All right. Sony is writing a separate check to Kevin Feige, which is part of the deal. All right. I want to make sure that people understand this is part of the deal. So there's absolutely no reason for people to go flying off the handle. This is the deal that Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal came up with. All right. So that's the first thing. That's the first production. They get production fees from Sony. All right. Now, number two, first dollar gross. Okay. So they get first dollar gross. And what that is basically that first weekend, that whether it's a 4-day weekend or a 3-day weekend or a 6-day weekend, however you want to put it, they get the first gross of that. Okay. Now we'll keep moving on. Now this is what Marvel gets. This has nothing to do with what Sony gets on the end of it. Okay. So the next thing they get is they, being Marvel, gets 100% of the merchandising. Okay? Marvel gets 100% of the merchandising. Sony does not get cut in on this at all. And you all know merchandising and toys make a lot of money. Spider-Man is the biggest selling comic book character in the world. He makes more than Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, Iron Man. All of them combined don't make as much as Spider-Man. Again, now this is part of the deal that Marvel and Sony signed off on years ago. I'm talking, this is when Spider-Man first showed up in Captain America's Civil War. Okay. I'll explain that probably Saturday what first dollar gross means. Let's see. And now here's the next thing that Marvel and Disney get. Now let's highlight this. Spider-Man in the MCU for free. All right, now what does that mean? That means that Marvel doesn't even pay a licensing fee for Spider-Man. Just to give you an example, Marvel pays a licensing fee to Universal to use the Incredible Hulk. They pay like $4 million to use the Incredible Hulk, which is fine. They got a separate deal. They got a good deal. Universal's happy with it, and Marvel's happy with it. The problem is Marvel. It's really hard for Marvel to make a Hulk film, so it doesn't matter. Universal owns that character, which means they own She-Hulk, which means they own Red Hulk, which means they own Professor Hulk, they own Abomination. Anything having to do with Hulk is owned by Universal. But Marvel pays a licensing fee to use Hulk, which Universal just signs off on. It's not that big a deal. But they get Spider-Man in the MCU for free. They don't have to pay that. They don't pay nothing. Okay? So, and then we're going to move over. Let's see here. And then another thing that they get, and again, this is the deal that Marvel negotiated. Okay. Now, they also get 5% 5% of the Spider-Man pictures. Okay, so not only do they get they get first dollar gross, they get 5% of the Spider-Man pictures. Now, understand, they don't own this character, but they still get stuff off of it. Again, it's a deal. This is the deal as we sit right now. All right, this is their deal right now. Now, let's talk about what Sony gets. Okay. Sony gets, now this is what Sony gets. So we're just gonna, Sony gets, so what we're gonna switch it over to what Sony gets. So I will try to answer some questions. So correct, because there's another article say Disney only wanted 30. That is accurate. Okay, Disney never asked for 50%. That first report that came out was not accurate. So, and I had to make a correction. I did that on Twitter. Okay, Disney asked for 30%, which is still insanely high, but they're negotiating. Let me make this clear. When you negotiate, you start with a high number, and everybody knows that, and then you come down. It's no different than when you go to the friggin' car lot, and they're going to ask, well, we want $16,500 for the car. Okay, that's way too much money for the car. They know it's too much. You know it's too much. So you come back and you say, 10.6. All right, and then they're going to say no. We can do 14.7, and then you start coming up a little bit. Well, you know what? I can do 11.1. The goal is you went in there to pay only $13,000, so that's your hard cap. But at the end of the day, this is not about that. Disney asked for 30%. That's not all that Disney asked for. Okay, that's not all that Disney asked for. Okay, but we'll get to what Disney actually asked for. Let's talk about what Sony gets. Okay, so Sony gets. Sony gets an attaboy, which is a term for somebody patting you on your butt saying attaboy. Okay, so they get all this love and notoriety from all the fans. Oh, Sony, you're so great. Thank you for doing this. So they get an attaboy, which is priceless because they get something that's called Sony also gets, we're on what Sony gets now, added. Okay, Sony also gets this. They get added value to Spider-Man. And again, this can't be calculated in words and money because this is about popularity. Now, Spider-Man is already the most popular, but they add volume. They add value and volume to the Spider-Man thing, okay? All right, how did they cash in on that value? They made Into the Spider-Verse, okay? They made Into the Spider-Verse. So, which is about the multiverse, which again, you all probably didn't know anything about unless you're a hardcore comic book reader, and you wonder why there's a Spider-Gwen and why there's a Peter Parker, why there's a Miles Morales. It's because there's something called the multiverse, and that's what they introduced Into the Spider-Verse. But again, because of the added value of Spider-Man going to the MCU, they're able to cash in on that. Okay. All righty. What else does Sony get? Sony gets any MCU Okay, this is part of the deal as right now. So Sony also gets any MCU character they want in their movie. In the first movie, they wanted Spider-Man to be with Iron Man. Okay? They wanted Spider-Man to be with Iron Man. That's why we saw Iron. If you want to know, well, why was Iron Man in Homecoming? This is part of the deal that Amy Pascal of Sony and Kevin Feige negotiated. Okay? So, because who's the most popular MCU character that Marvel owns? It's Iron Man. So they put the two most popular together, and they said, here, we're going to make a movie, and we're going to have Tony Stark in that movie. Even though he was in the movie, maybe 9 minutes? He's still in the movie. He's still in the movie. And Sony did not have to pay Robert Downey Jr. Marvel did. Because Sony does not, Robert Downey did at the time did not work for Sony. Of course, he can now, but Robert Downey Jr. did not work for Sony. He worked for Marvel. Marvel had to pay him. That's something Sony got. All right. So now we're going to break down. What Sony actually owns versus what Marvel owns. So we're going to go with Sony owns this. That's what I'm like. Now we're going to move into what Sony actually owns. Okay. Sony owns the actual intellectual property of Spider-Man, which is Peter Parker. He is what you would call the definitive version of Spider-Man. And it doesn't matter if he's 35, if he's 45, if he's 25. Peter Parker will be owned by Sony till the dinosaurs reemerge, or whatever you want to call it, till the Caribbean Jesus comes back and raptures everybody. He's not going anywhere. So, and this is the definitive one. Now, so they own the movie rights and they own Peter Parker's likeness. So this now starts breaking into the video game. The video game, when Insomniac chose the character, they chose to do it based on Peter Parker, not on any other Spider-Man. They didn't choose Spider-Gwen. They didn't choose Silk. They didn't choose Miles Morales, even though he's in the game. Okay. So in the Spider-Man video game, what did Marvel sign off on? Because they don't own the character. Okay, Marvel and Disney, because of Marvel, Disney, and Sony, because it's a three-party deal. Okay, Sony has to sign off on the use of Peter Parker. Marvel has to sign off on the use of Miles Morales. Marvel has to sign off on the use of Avengers Tower being in the game and all the other MCU Easter eggs you saw. Sony has to sign off on all the other stuff you saw, okay? Because Sony owns Doc Ock. Sony owns the guy that Sony owns all those villains that was in the game. The Lizard, all those guys. They own that, okay? Now, because Sony owns all of that, if you read the Spider-Man comic books, Peter Parker hasn't changed a heck of a whole lot. And that's because Sony has to actually physically sign off, which is no problem, by the way. It's not like they don't talk to each other. Okay, so that's pretty much what Sony owns when it comes to Spider-Man. And they own the movie credits. So when Sony made the Sam Raimi run 1 and 2, which I think total combined grossed over $2 billion. I'm talking about combined. All right, combined, not one movie, combined. That's why Marvel and Disney bit off more than they can chew, because Sony's already proven they can make a lot of money with Spider-Man. Sony proved with Into the Spider-Verse they don't need Marvel. Marvel had nothing to do with Into the Spider-Verse. It wasn't Marvel that walked up there on that stage and got that Oscar. That was Sony. Now, did Marvel help? Yes, but they got absolutely nothing when it came to the Oscars. Sony got that Oscar. Sony also made a movie called Venom, which grossed over $800 million. And I thought that movie was straight garbage. You know where I stand on that. I sat right here in this chair and said that movie was garbage. I'm talking about diarrhea bad. Like, I'd rather stick a cork in my butt than have to watch that again. But it still made money. Even though my opinion is that it was diarrhea, okay, is that I can't deny that the movie was successful financially. The fact is that it was successful financially. My opinion is that it was hot garbage. That's just my opinion, which has nothing to do with anything except what I like. So Sony does not owe anybody anything because they've proven it. Sony is so happy with Marvel that they're spinning off their own Venomverse. That's what it's called. Sony is doing something called the Venomverse. Okay, Sony is actually doing this. Okay, so in the Venomverse, they can't use their own Spider-Man because of the deal, which they agreed to. Let me make this clear. They agreed to this deal as we stand right now. So again, they're not complaining at all. They're not complaining at all. All right, so let's move into what, now that we know what the deal is and what Marvel gets, now that we know what Sony gets and what Sony owns, okay? Now you understand when you hear people say the game is being threatened. No, that is not true. That is coming from a group of fanboys who are still furious. And again, they are furious that Spider-Man is only on PS4. They are so mad that and I gotta take an L too because I underestimated how upset they are. So as we stand right now, Sony and Marvel still have one more movie to go. And Marvel and Sony don't have any plans to use him in the next 2 years. So they have 2 years to get a deal. They don't have to, okay? They don't have to do it today. Now, Marvel, why do I think, now, Craig, why do you think they're going to work it out? Because Marvel and Disney are opening up Marvel Land. Guess what the biggest part of the park is? I'll give you 2 hints. Guess which one is the biggest part? You guessed it, the Spider-Verse part. So you're telling me you're going to open up an amusement park called Marvel Land and not have any Spider-Man stuff in it? That's what I mean. So no, this deal is going to work out. That deal is going to work out. So now let's talk about what Marvel actually did ask Sony for. Okay, let's just start. Okay, with the obvious stuff. Marvel wanted, again, and this is no big deal, 100% merchandise. Now, this is part of the new deal that they were negotiating. Marvel wanted to keep 100% of the merchandise. Again, this was already done with the previous deal. Sony signed off. They checkmarked, bam, no big deal. You all keep that. Even though that's worth a shit ton of money, Sony is letting that go. And that's their character. Marvel does not own this character. Okay? So let's move to the next thing that Marvel wanted. Marvel wanted to keep Spider-Man in the MCU for free. Okay. Marvel wanted to keep Spider-Man in the MCU for free. This is part of the new deal that was being negotiated. Okay. Now, again, for free, meaning no licensing fees paid to Sony. And Sony agreed. Okay. Again, this is the same Marvel Disney studio that gives Universal $4 million for the Incredible Hulk to use the Incredible Hulk in their movies. Okay. Sony is giving them this character for free, license free. Now, I like the Incredible Hulk. Okay. But he's not as popular as Spider-Man. He's just not. All right. But this was part of the deal. And again, this makes sense because this was part of the original deal. Then it's gonna start being complicated here. Disney wanted, I'm just typing this in so that you all have a reference point. Disney wanted 30%. Disney came in and wanting 30% of the actual intellectual property. And Sony did not sign off on this. Okay? Sony did not. They wanted, again, because they wanted Marvel to keep producing for a fee, which Marvel came back and said, we appreciate you wanting Kevin Feige around, but Kevin Feige is now in charge of all these new characters that just came into the universe, like from Fox, which is what, like over 4,000 characters when you include their characters. So give or take, maybe more, maybe less, everything combined, 4,000. okay, give or take. So Kevin Feige got a whole plate full, and they were like, we're not going to go ahead and, Kevin Feige makes a shit ton of money. We're not going to just keep doing that. So this is a sticking point, but this is simple. Sony literally said to Marvel, whoever Kevin Feige wants to put in charge, we're okay with that. Well, they would still capitulate to what Disney wanted. And this is being head by Alan Horn. Kevin Feige's not part of this negotiation. Alan Horn is, okay? And you can look up who Alan Horn is. He is huge. I mean, you hear about Bob Iger. Alan Horn ain't nobody's dog up over at Disney. Okay, now Disney is driving a hard bargain. They want 30% of the movie, and they want that co-production and finances. And at 30%, this would start eating into the actual ownership that Sony has in the Spider-Man IP, which is what, again, you're negotiating. You want to weaken that position. I love the negotiating that they're playing hardball at Sony. Okay. Now, something else they did that was not correct was this is what Disney offered. This was the deal breaker. I'm just going to type this in. Co-finance with other Sony movies. Okay. This was the deal breaker. Co-finance with other Sony movies. So what they were doing, what this means is that the other movies that Sony is going to do dealing with the Venomverse, okay? The other movies that Sony was going to do, that means the Morbius movie, that means the Silk movie, that means the Spider-Gwen and Miles Morales Spider-Man real action movie that they're going to do, okay? They are Spider-Verse movie that they're going to do. Because they're going to do it into the, how Disney is doing like Jungle Book and Lion King, and they're converting them into live action. They're going to do something similar to Into the Spider-Verse. That's their plan. It's not going to happen tomorrow. That's happening down the road. Okay. This was a deal breaker. Okay, this is the equivalent of, I'll just compare this to Oracle, the company Oracle going to Apple saying, we want 30% of all your iPhone sales, even though Oracle ain't got nothing to do with the iPhone. Okay, nothing. They want 30% of it. And at this point, Sony walked away. They were so mad, and I think, to go on record, they overreacted. And they said, well, screw you. We're just going to pull Spider-Man out of the entire MCU. And this is negotiating, okay? This is negotiating. It is no different than when you hear an athlete walked into an office to sign a deal. They offered him a contract, and then he walked out. This is the same thing. This is the exact same thing. Okay, this is part of, and I'm glad you all are seeing what I actually follow, because this happens all the time. Okay, this happens all the time. And the fact that there is a group of people trying to spin it into something it's not, this shows you how moist they are. Okay, once again, Mr. I heard a podcast, and Mr. I want my fuckery to continue. He is on there. Doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. The pure definition of a beta male simp is this dude. You got another group of people. And again, let me make this clear. Multiplayer Podcast at this point had a great opportunity to educate its listeners, and they totally dropped the ball. And and that's no diss on that podcast. I listened to that podcast. Those guys they dropped the ball on this one. They're too busy trying to be entertaining, and they're not giving the people who are there to actually understand what's going on an opportunity to understand what's going on. So anybody who says that Spider-Man's been pulled out of the MCU permanently, they're not telling the truth. They're being intellectually dishonest. They need to educate themselves, because that's not true. And here's why it's not true. Let me give you the reference point. Because Sony and Marvel still have one more movie on the deal. That's a fact. Okay? So the deal can't be over. Walt Disney is building a theme park based on the MCU, and Spider-Man is the biggest part of that park. They didn't quit production. They didn't slow down. So again, it's going to work itself out. But this is Disney being Disney. Remember, I told you the mouse don't play. How many of you all have literally heard me? How many of you all have heard me sit here who are actually listening say the mouse don't play? All right? The mouse don't play because they are hardcore negotiators. All right? And they don't play. They did not get to where they are by being nice. And again, they're trying different negotiating tactics. And a lot of it is they're putting it out in public and they're letting it spill over into the public, which again is a negotiating tactic. It's dirty. It's mean. It's nasty. I love it. But it's part of negotiating. Now, what's a way forward with all of this? Okay, they're going to come up with some type of deal. So the first report of Disney wanting 50%, that was wrong. That was wrong. All right, that is actually 30 to 35%. Sony next week, because see, D23 is tomorrow. I bet you a lot of people didn't know that. D23 is tomorrow. Okay? And they're not going to be able to have D23 without this question coming up. So you're going to get a statement tomorrow from Disney. You're going to have to. And I'm going to tell you what the statement more than likely will be. And it's my birthday, so no, I will not be covering this tomorrow. The statement will probably be something in the range of, yeah, we're still talking, we're still negotiating. Because again, they're still talking to each other. Okay, they're still talking to each other. Do not believe the fact, do not believe the bullshit of, well, they're not even talking to each other. That's not true. They are talking to each other. So whose fault is this? It's both their faults. They're both stubborn companies who have proven they don't need each other. Okay? They don't need each other. You know, so, and Sony doesn't need them to make a Spider-Man movie. They did it with Venom. They made $800 million and they kept all the money. They didn't have to split that money. They kept it. You know, they made it successful into the Spider-Verse movie. Again, very successful movie. All right. And again, it won an Oscar. Very successful movie, won an Oscar. Again, that has nothing to do with Marvel. So again, it's not that Marvel didn't help on that movie, but they didn't help enough to get production credit. So it is what it is. So it's a negotiating tactic. So Spider-Man did not come into the MCU until Captain America Civil War. That's it. That is it. And he was in Captain America Civil War for what, like 6 minutes? What, 6 to 10 minutes? I mean, somebody can go look that time up. All right. Then he was in Infinity War. Okay. Then he was in Endgame. And then they've done 2 movies with him, Homecoming and Far From Home. Again, I like both those movies. I'm getting both. I got both. I got Homecoming in 4K. I'm getting Far From Home in 4K. So yeah, I'm good. So the people who are telling you Spider-Man's gone, Spider-Man will never return, all those people are wrong. All of them. I don't care who they are. I don't care. I will tell them to their faces, come hook or crook, that they're wrong. But this is strong arm negotiating. Again, that's all this is strong arm negotiating. So, and both of them got strong arms. So I really hope this educates you on all the stuff that's going on. Okay? Don't get caught up in the fuckery. Don't get caught up in the fuckery, because now you know the truth. I'm the same man that told you what the what the new PlayStation GPU was going to do. I'm the same man that told you that, oh, Game Pass will be coming to all platforms. Isn't that amazing that got reported today again? So that is accurate. It will be coming to PlayStation just as I predicted it would. All right. So just everybody's just going to have to wait. You're 2 years away. They haven't even started writing the third Spider-Man yet. And everybody's wetting their pants. So so I'm just surprised that it's gotten to this point. But again, go listen to people like John Campea. Do not listen to these people. They're moist, okay? Go listen to people like Popcorn Movie Talk. These are people that are actually in the know on what's going on and have actual, real sources to give you the accurate information so that you can paint an accurate picture, okay? Do not listen to these people that even that, was it Jaffe, whatever his name is, he insulted these people to their face. And they were so stupid, they didn't even see the insult. They couldn't even hear the insult. When he's talking about the whole console war, and he says, yeah, if you're a little kid in the lunchroom and your friend is sitting over there saying, you know, talking about the Xbox or the PlayStation. So the fact, okay, so let's pause right there. The fact that he said it's like he's looking at it from like a little kid's view means all these people talk about the console war are children. They got insulted and they were so stupid that they didn't even realize they got insulted. I mean, how stupid are you? Seriously, I mean, how dumb are you? Somebody insults you to your face, you don't even know it? You know what? That's pure moisture. Okay, that is butter biscuit brigade. Okay, that is, I'm talking about the Pillsbury Doughboy can quit and they can just put their faces up there. Okay, like, look, you all just butter your biscuits because you get insulted and you're so hard up on Xbox that you don't even see the insult? Are you kidding me? And then you think people won't go into your live stream and pull your pants down? Nigga, that will happen. Trust me. So, you know, that nobody's insulting Sony, nobody's insulting Marvel. This happens all the time. I mean, seriously, this happens all the time in negotiations, okay? You know, go back to Iron Man 1. Iron Man 1 comes out, makes a shit ton of money, right? Iron Man 1 makes a shit ton of money. The guy who plays Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., says, I want to renegotiate my contract. And in order for him to renegotiate his contract, guess who got kicked out? Guess who got less money and decided not to play a role? You guessed it, Terrence Howard. That's why Terrence Howard, who played Rhodey in Iron Man 1, was replaced by Don Cheadle in Iron Man 2 because Don Cheadle played that same role for less money. Now, had whatchamacallit said, you know what, Terrence Howard, had he had foresight and said, okay, I'm going to be in whatever 5 to 6 movies at $2 to $3 million and did some of the Marvel stuff and did the Comic-Cons, he would have made more money. But again, he had just come off of an Oscar movie called Crash. He was in Crash and he was nominated for Hustle and Flow. So he's like, nah. And Robert Downey Jr. was on the D list. He's like, no, I'm not going to take less money. I'm the star. But, you know, who came out on top on that one? So, but because Robert Downey Jr. got his money, Terrence Howard went more into television. And now we got that suck show Empire with something that calls itself Cookie running around acting like a bedwench. So, you know, it is what it is. So, you know, the bottom line is do not get caught up. You got people having I'm seeing these videos. Oh, Spider-Man's gone. Oh no. It's like, no, he's not. No, he's not. And now that you know what Sony owns, you don't have to worry about the video gaming because Sony owns the intellectual property of Peter Parker. There is some wiggle room there. Okay, they also have license to Miles Morales. Now, Sony cannot make a physical movie without Marvel with Miles Morales. Okay, they can't. But if you watch Spider-Man Homecoming, not Far From Home, the character played by Donald Glover, that's the black dude, the childish Gambino. The guy, if you don't remember the scene, is when Spider-Man put on that voice changer and then tried to threaten him. That guy is Miles Morales' uncle. He's a professional burglar. He's a thug. He's a real thug. The guy gets paid to do high-end burglary jobs, and then he sells the merchandise. Well, basically what happened is he sneaks into Osborn Tower, Oscorp, okay? He sneaks into Oscorp, and one of those genetically enhanced spiders gets into his backpack. He puts the backpack in Miles's house, and when Miles comes home from school, he reaches into his uncle's backpack, and then he gets bit by the spider. And the rest is, you need to read Miles's story, okay? And I read his comic book. I know you guys don't. But all right then, guys, that is it. I mean, so do not listen to these clowns. I mean, I love, another guy. I'm going to type this guy's name in, and you all need to go sub to him right now, okay? Let's see here. This guy is his name on YouTube is Emergency Awesome. His real name is Charlie. This guy is balls to the wall, front line, hot shit when it comes to all this Marvel, DC, all of it. He should be your first and last resource person when it comes to the movie side, when it comes to the television side. This guy is phenomenal. He really is awesome. Okay, he is so good at his job that he hosts web streams. Let me make this clear. He hosts web streams. He hosts events through Marvel, through DC. So why don't you go listen to what he was saying? I found it amazing that he even confirmed what I said on a Sick Humor's podcast yesterday, which is Marvel pays for 100% of the production. Duh. I told you that yesterday. Now he comes in and confirms it. So hey, look, maybe you'll believe the white guy. You know what I'm saying? Maybe because like I don't have the complexion for the connection, so maybe that'll make you feel better. But look, guys, I'm going to jump off of here. I'm going to go drink my Craig Weiser because it's my birthday in like an hour and a half, and I'm just going to go have fun. And people need to stop the panicking, stop listening to these butter biscuit eating beta male simps in the Xbox community. Like OBJ the Don said, they mad as hell. They still think Spider-Man is going to come, even though the intellectual property is owned by Sony, even though Sony owns the studio that that produced the game. If they published the game, they still think it. That just goes to show you what a back-breaking IP this was. Again, Horizon Zero Dawn broke their hearts. Spider-Man broke their backs, or whichever one you want to use. Okay, you want to say that but this was a heartbreaking intellectual property. Remember what that guy said. You will rule the day. You didn't put Spider-Man on the world's most powerful console. But all right, guys, I'm getting out of here. You all stay blessed. Have a good weekend. I will definitely try to stream the Sawmill Horde, whatever the hell this thing is called. I'm going to try to do that this weekend, but a lot of stuff kind of fell into place for me, so I may not be able to. But check it out. Y'all have a good weekend. Stay safe, and just stay smart. If you hear anybody having a podcast and they don't tell you what I just told you, because you now know the truth, you just turn off the podcast because they're clowns. They're friggin' clowns at this point. All right, they're clowns. So I gotta go get my information ready on Game Pass coming to all platforms. Matter of fact, let me show you that screen because I know there's a bunch of fruit booties who still don't believe this what this came out, and let me go to find it here. And now there could be a correction article up here. Let's see here. I'm just going to flash it real quick. Let's Game of Revolution, blah, blah, blah. And let's see here. No, I'm not going to accept any cookies because it's my birthday. And so we'll go over here. We're going to share my screen. Shout out to Portal Rock 77. Oh, big shout out to Portal Rock 77 for having me on yesterday. All right, I want all you all to take a picture of this. All right. Now, I told you this a year ago. All right. So what you're just going to have to accept that I know more than you do. That's just the bottom line. I know more than you do. So you're blessed and I'm blessed and you're beautiful and I'm beautiful and it's my birthday and I'm going to go drink a big, beautiful black beer. You all have a beautiful evening. Peace out.